Hello everyone and welcome back for another video from Old Frames Gaming. This month we played Premodern at Dragon's Den. This first video from this month's action is going to feature Shane on Elves versus myself on Finkula. Let's jump into the deck list. And here we have Shane's deck. He is playing red-green Elves featuring Survival of the Fittest and a playset of Gaia's Cradles. You don't see that very often. You'll see some other all-stars like Deranged Hermit, Wirewood Symbiote, Priest of Titania, Quirion Ranger, and some Findhorn and Llanowar Elves, as well as a Singleton Sylvan Library to round out the main deck in addition to the mana base. His sideboard is a little bit difficult to see here, but you will notice that he's playing Genesis and Masticore there in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, as well as 3 Call of the Herds. So this is going to be an uphill battle already. That said, let's go and take a look at the deck that I played on the night. And here we have my version of Esper Finkula. The creature suite features a Singleton Psychotog and 3 Shadow Mage Infiltrator alongside 4 Meddling Mages. The card draw engines are going to be Accumulated Knowledge and the Shadow Mage Infiltrator. Alongside 4 Unearth, which I opted to play because these creatures are all relatively fragile, as are most in this format. But I have the option to cycle that card to draw another card as well. The Counterspell suite features Mana Leak and actual Counterspell, and then controls the board through means of Recoil, Vindicate, Swords to Plowshares, and Smother. The discard in 3 Duress is also backed up by the Singleton Recoil, which is a pretty good card in my opinion. It's kind of a catch-all. With that said, let's take a look at the sideboard. And here we have the sideboard that I took with me on the night. It's really difficult to predict what's going to be played at Dragon's Den on any given Tuesday. So I included several 2-ofs just to kind of have some flexibility in the sideboard. I included a Null and Hibernation mainly for Enchantress, as well as the Disenchants. But obviously Hibernation is going to be good against any other solid green-based strategies. Red decks are typically pretty prevalent, therefore that explains the Hydroblast, the Warmth, and the COP Red, and the Absolute Law. And then as just kind of a general catch-all strategy, I included a couple of Cabal Therapies, because that tends to pair pretty well with the Unearths, because I can just get those creatures right back out of the graveyard. Alright, now that we've gone through the deck list for the night, let's go ahead and take a look at some gameplay. Alright, as we join in here, we're just finishing shuffling up to start game 1 of this match, and I'm going to go ahead and roll. I'll roll a 6. Which is not terrible, but less than average. Shane's going to roll, and one of the dice falls off screen, but he rolls higher than 6, so he's going to be on the play in game 1, which is probably bad news for me. As a bit of foreshadowing, I'll say that I may have made a mistake on the night by not bringing any Engineered Plagues. Going forward, I think that's going to change. However, I believe going forward that any black deck probably needs to be packing at least 2 to 3 Engineered Plagues in the sideboard. There are various strategies that's just going to be good against all around. So Shane's going to look over his initial 7, and he's going to play Wooded Foothills and pass the turn back over to me. I'm going to draw for the turn. It's not looking too bad at this point, but we're going to play a Flooded Strand and pass the turn back. Shane's going to go digging for a basic land on my end step, and he's going to find a forest. So I pass the turn back to Shane, and he's going to draw for his turn. It looks like he's drawn a Gaia's Cradle. That's pretty good. Alright, so here's Wasteland number 1 of 3, which doesn't put a terrible bunch of pressure on my deck. I think I only play 5 non-basic lands that it can actually target. And he's going to opt to play a Survival of the Fittest to start us off. So I'm going to crack my fetch and go to 19 and go looking. And I didn't find it in the top half, so let's check the bottom half. I must be looking for a plains. Yep, and there's the plains, the lone plains in the deck. White is a pretty small splash color. I think I have maybe 9 cards in the deck, or 10 that play a single white in the pips. So Shane cuts my deck and I take my turn. We find an island and pass the turn back. So Shane untaps, takes his draw for the turn. Gives it a good look. And here comes Finehorn Elves. So he's already trying to get a mana advantage on me. And leaving that wasteland untapped to catch anything I might have. And he's going to go ahead and play out his Cradle. I believe that is Quirion Ranger. So I had to give that card a read because I don't see it very often. So I'm not real sure what it is. Actually, that's not a Quirion Ranger. I think it's a Birchlore Ranger. Shane passes back. I take my turn, drop another island, and to pass it back to him. He's just going through the motions of setting up his board here. So we find another forest. So now we have 5 mana available to us. Going to pay 1. There's a Quirion Ranger. That one's a tough one. It's one of the untappers in the deck. I know that there's been a little bit of discussion as of recently as to whether or not those untappers are necessary in the numbers that they're normally played in. I don't really know because I don't play the deck enough to know. Shane comes crashing in with Finehorn Elves for 1, sending me down to 18. I cycle Unearth and draw a card on his end step. Take my turn, draw, and play a swamp. So we're giving the Quirion Ranger another read here. That card can get out of control for this deck and allows them to combo out pretty quick. So we're going to go ahead and Swords to Plowshares that thing to get it going. Shane gains his life and removes it from the game. And then we're going to go ahead and smother Finehorn Elves. Shane's going to respond by activating a Survival of the Fittest and discarding Squee, Goblin Nabob, and he's going to go looking for something else. What is he going to find here? Deep in the tank on this one. I believe that is a Yavimaya Granger. I believe that is correct. So he's going to add that to his hand and then untap and take his turn. Shane finds another Wooded Foothills, which is going to give him access to red should he need it. He did miss the trigger on Squee. So now we're going to play out this this Multani's Acolyte. I'm sorry. That was a Multani's Acolyte. And he's going to draw a card. So that's a 2-1 with Echo for 2 green to let you draw a card. Then he's going to go ahead and crack that Wooded Foothills, go back to 19. And he's going to find his mountain. I apologize. Some of the artwork on these are difficult for me to remember. So if I get something wrong, please correct me in the comments. That's totally okay. This is all in good fun anyway. So he passes the turn back to me and I draw for the turn. I believe I find an underground river, which we're going to play out. So that's going to be a good wasteland target for Shane. And here comes John Finkle himself. So now we're going to hit that wasteland, or use that wasteland to hit my underground river, and that's okay. And I pass the turn back over to Shane. So during his upkeep, he's going to trigger Squee here and return it to hand, most likely. But it looks like he's got some triggers or some abilities he wants to activate first. So he does not pay the Echo on the Acolyte. It goes to the graveyard. We find another forest. He's going to activate a Survival of the Fittest and chuck Squee into the graveyard again. And you can tell Shane's had a lot of reps with this deck because he seemingly gets the exact right card every single time. I admire that. So we find an Anger, which he's also going to cycle into the graveyard with that Survival of the Fittest. And then he's going to find Masticore. So that's frightening for me because most of my creatures are fairly low toughness. And that thing has Regenerate, which makes it difficult to get rid of with most removal. Although Swords to Plowshares will do the trick. So he passes the turn back over. I untap and draw. We're going to come across into the red zone with Shadow Mage Infiltrator hitting for 1. And the trigger is going to draw me a card. So we play out our Adakar Waste and pass the turn back over to Shane. Squee triggers. So he's going to return that to his hand to get more fodder for Survival of the Fittest. It's almost unfair. It really is. Alright, 3 mana. This, I believe, is the Yavimaya Granger, which is going to allow him to go and search up a basic land. It's kind of an underrated card, I guess, for this deck. So he puts that into play tapped. Comes crashing in for 2 because Anger gives it haste, which puts me at 16. And then he's going to drop a Wasteland to take care of my Adakar Wastes. Unfortunate. But at this point, I'm on all my colors. I've got 2 blue for the counter spells if that comes up, and the 1 white or the 1 black for the other cards that might come up. So I crash across with Shadow Mage Infiltrator, sending Shane to 17 and draw a card. I'm going to play a Polluted Delta and give the turn back to Shane, who at the end of the turn is going to once again cycle Squee for Survival of the Fittest to go looking up whatever's going to hurt me the worst. That, I believe, is another Maltani's Acolyte. So Shane's trying to draw some cards too. So 3 mana. Or 2 mana, rather, for the Echo on this Granger, I think. Or 3 mana for the Echo on the Granger. Shane lands a Quirion Ranger. So now we add 2 with the Cradle. And here comes Acolyte. So we're going to draw a card. This board presence wouldn't be so bad, I think, if it weren't for the Anger. So now he's going to come across with a bunch of his guys. I'm going to go to 15, cracking that Polluted Delta, and find another swamp. This is almost getting out of hand now. Alright, so in response to the declaration of attack, we're going to smother Granger. And then we're going to play Swords to Plowshares, likely. Maybe not. So at this point I was thinking pretty hard about it. But we're going to go ahead and cycle and unearth. He doesn't have a great deal of removal outside of Masticore in this deck. So yeah, we are going to go ahead and Swords to Plowshares that Ranger. And we're going to take a couple down to 13. Shane passes the turn back. So I'll take my turn, untap, and draw. Got to rearrange the deck there a little bit. We're going to come across with Shadow Mage Infiltrator again for 1 and draw another card. So now we're going to duress. I want to see what's going on here. All creatures, it looks like. So he's got a Thornscape Battle Mage and a Squee and a Masticore and an unknown creature that I don't recall and couldn't really tell what it was, but that's okay. All I know is I just got information. That's it. So at the end of the turn, he's going to cycle Squee again to that Survival of the Fittest and go searching up something. Likely to destroy me. So now we find a Deranged Hermit, and that's not great, because that thing is going to bring in 9 power with haste if he can land it. So that's some scary stuff. So now Squee triggers and he returns it to the hand, and Shane draws another Gaia's Cradle. So we're going to attempt to cast Deranged Hermit here. To which I say, I don't think so. Not today. He comes across for 2, sending me down to 11 and passes a turn. At the end of the turn, I cycle on Earth to try and find some kind of answer here, because it's getting grim. We're going to hit in for 1 with the Shadow Mage Infiltrator and draw a card to see if that doesn't find us an answer. It finds us another land, which is not exactly what we needed here, I guess. So I find Seal of Cleansing, and I go ahead and use that on the Survival to kind of stop some of this Squeeze shenanigans. But it may be too late. That anger's already in the yard, and that poses tons and tons of problems. So here we have 5 mana. He's going to try and land another Deranged Hermit, and I've got the answer and counter spell to keep that thing off the board. Otherwise, that would end me on the spot. Shane comes across for 2, sending me down to 9, and passes the turn back. So we draw. Probably didn't find another answer here. So let's send in Infiltrator so we can try and find another card. We find another land, which I guess is okay, but not really what we needed. So I'm going to go ahead and crack that. I believe I go looking for another Plains here, because I thought I had 2 in the deck at the time, and I don't. So I think we're probably going to find an island here. Alright, so now we're going to think it over. So 2 or blue and a white for a Meddling Mage. I don't remember what I named here, but I believe it might have been Survival of the Fittest. The problem with it this late in the game is that the damage has already been done pretty much. And I go ahead and pass the turn back to Shane. So he draws. Looks like he's got several cards in hand here, so he's got tons of options. So we're going to tap 4 and likely going to try to land a Massacre. Nope, it's a Battle Mage. Thornscape Battle Mage. So this allows him to deal 2 damage to a creature, I believe, or destroy an artifact. But I've got the answer and counterspell for that, because I think he was trying to remove my Meddling Mage at this point. So he taps 2 more for a Wall of Blossoms and draws a card. He finds another land. Attacks in for 2. I opt to go ahead and take it and go down to 6. I untap. We're not doing very well in the neighborhood of finding answers at this point. This game is slowly slipping away. So I'm going to come across for 1 and draw a card. Looks like I found another land, and that's not going to help us here. So we're going to go ahead and play in Accumulated Knowledge to draw a card. Looks like I draw another land. We were real good at drawing lands in this match, but not so great at drawing answers, unfortunately. Send the turn back to Shane, who untaps and draws. Looks like he's got a Wirewood Symbiote and a Masticore in hand. He's going to lead off on the Symbiote. And then we're going to tap 4, and I believe he's going to get Masticore down here, or at least attempt to. Alright, there's 4 mana for Masticore. I go ahead and swords that thing, because it's problematic in a whole lot of ways. Shane goes back up to 17 from 13. And then he comes across for 3. Sending me to 3. But no, I opt to block. He did deal 1 damage to that Meddling Mage. And in response to the second activation, I swordsed it. So I may have made a play mistake there. Maybe the Masticore would have killed it. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a judge. But either way, it really didn't have much bearing on the rest of this game. So he hits for 1. Or 2, rather. He hits for 2. I go to 4. And Shane gets a turn back here. I opted not to attack because I have to have some defenders. Shane taps 4 mana. I believe that's a Nantuko Vigilante, but I can't remember exactly what it does. I think it has kind of a quasi disenchant effect. And he comes across, sending me down to 1. So here we're going to tap for 3. Play another Cradle. 3 more, so 6 in the pool. And he plays Kamal, Fist of Krosa. That has a built-in overrun effect, giving all his creatures +3/+3 in trample. And I decide I'm going to pack it in and hopefully see better days in Game 2. So we'll give these players a couple of minutes to shuffle up and sideboard, and we'll join them in Game 2. Alright, so we join these players in Game 2. I kept 6 in this game opening up. I believe Shane was on 7. So I open up on a Polluted Delta into a swamp. That's usually a pretty good indicator of a duress inbound. So we'll see. And it is duress. Alright, so we've got Wooded Foothills, Gaia's Cradle, and 4 creatures. So Shane actually did mull to 6 in this game. There are no legal targets for duress, but we do have a little bit of information, so that's good news. Shane leads off on Wooded Foothills and goes searching. He's going to find a forest and go to 19. And shuffle back up. He leads off on Land of War Elves. So we're already at a mana advantage on me. Shane passes the turn. I start on an Adakar Waste. And we're going to go ahead and Swords to Plowshares that thing to try and keep this under control. So I go to 18. Shane untaps for his turn and plays another Wooded Foothills. He finds another forest. He's going to roll into a Finehorn Elves and a Quirion Ranger. So we're still at a mana advantage here. This is just a solid deck. Shane passes back to me and I play an island for the turn. And I'm thinking it over now because life's about to get really tough. So let's go ahead and take a point of damage and play a Meddling Mage. I don't recall what the name was here. But I pass back the turn to him. He finds a Gaia's Cradle. It's unbelievable, everybody. So call the herd. So Shane's going to play a 3/3 elephant token, and my life just got really hard because I don't have any great way to deal with a multitude of these things. And that having flashback, he's going to have another one, availability to have another one next turn. And I'll be facing just 6 power of attack on just those two. So I go ahead and play an Infiltrator to maybe I can get some card draw going. We'll see. I'm already at 17. Life's incredibly difficult now. So he's going to tap for 4 mana and get another Call the Herd elephant token. Thankfully, they don't have haste just yet, but I don't really think that's going to matter too much. He's giving the board a look and trying to decide if he wants to come across with that elephant token or not. Four more mana, he's going to flash back and get a 3rd elephant token. So that's 9 power worth of creatures. And he's going to come across for 3. So I go ahead and take the 3 and go down to 14. He passes the turn back and I untap and draw. I need 3 answers right now. And we're probably not going to get there. So I'll crash across with the Infiltrator and draw a card off that trigger. So I find another Meddling Mage. I believe I named Call the Herd at this point, but it's a little too late. And I pass the turn back over to Shane. He untaps for the turn and takes his draw. He plays 2 for a Priest of Titania because he needs more mana at this point. And then he hits me for 9. I try to find another answer with an Infiltrator here, hitting in for 1. And that's not going to do it. So I go ahead and pack it in. Shane wins this round 2-0. Great games. Incredible deck. Wish that I had some more answers, but, you know, we didn't get there. And sometimes you don't. But that's okay. It's all about the experience of playing something new and different and fun. So we start to de-sideboard here, and you can see I brought in those Hibernations and some Phyrexian Furnace to try and help mitigate that, but that's okay. So thanks for joining in for round 1. We'll be back with round 2 momentarily. Please be sure and check that out. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe and share it on whatever platforms you're on. I would appreciate it much. Join in the comments. Tell me where we messed up, if we missed any triggers. None of us are professionals here. We're just trying to have a good time. Thanks to everybody for tuning in, for everybody new, and for all those who are returning visitors. We appreciate you very much. Thanks again, everybody.